Hello again. There was a time when the best American universities were renowned for their academic prowess. Cornell, for instance, had people like Carl Sagan and Frank Drake working there, and they led the field in scientific developments relating to astronomy. How are the mighty fallen these days? Cornell, one of the so-called Ivy League establishments, is famous for other things these days apart from science, most notably for being a laughing stock due to their determination to be right on and politically correct. This is where Cornell lead the field these days, rather than in, say, the search for extraterrestrial life or any of that old-fashioned scientific stuff. Part of the decline of science in American universities is due, needless to say, to the urgent need to have a more diverse student body, which essentially means getting more black students in. This is not easy for the same reason that top universities in Britain have found it difficult to recruit black students. Not to put too fine a point on it, black students do not tend to do very well academically in qualifications such as the British A-levels and the American Scholastic Aptitude Test, the examinations which are needed to get into university. This can be a problem if you're running a university devoted to academic subjects like astrophysics, the kind of thing which Cornell was once famous for. In Britain, if you walked around London's Imperial College, which is famous for mathematics and science, you'll find very few black students. Many Indians and Chinese, but hardly any Africans or Caribbeans. In America's Ivy League, the picture is much the same, except that the Americans are taking practical steps to remedy the situation. What are they doing to attract more African American students? Well, if black people are having trouble passing the examinations which will gain them a place at somewhere like Cornell, then the obvious solution is to scrap the examinations which are used to assess academic ability. Problem solved. Take those who wish to study for a master's or PhD. Since the 1950s, there has been a standard means of ascertaining the suitability of students who want a doctorate. This is done by getting prospective students to sit the Graduate Record Examination, or GRE for short. This examination lasts about 4 hours and it's comprehensive and demanding. There is a general GRE, and for those going for a master's or PhD in science, there is a subject-specific physics GRE. For over 60 years, this system has worked very well and enabled universities to distinguish the most able applicants for graduate courses. Now, it has been discovered suddenly that the GRE is no use, and half the American universities have abandoned it. It has been found that it is not, as had been previously believed, the gateway to graduate courses at all, but is rather an obstacle. Ambika Matha is the Dean of the Graduate School and the Vice Provost at the University of Texas at San Antonio, which has dropped the use of the GRE. She says, "To me, the GRE is an artificial barrier keeping very deserving students out of doctoral training." And this is very puzzling. What has been found to be the problem with the GRE? This is very simple. White people do better than black people at the GRE, and men tend to do much better than women. This means that the GRE effectively has acted as a filter, selecting white men in preference to black women. The fact that white men do far better at this objective measure of academic ability is neither here nor there. Anything which acts to keep mainly white men on a course must be disposed of. Cornell has, of course, dropped the requirement for the GRE as well, and perhaps not coincidentally, some of their courses are now increasingly unacademic. Let's have a look at Cornell's Astro 2034 course, Black Holes, Race and the Cosmos. This combines astronomy with black studies and uses pop music and science fiction novels to explain the cosmos. Don't take my word for it. I give a link to the course above. Let me read a bit out to you. Conventional wisdom would have it that the black in black holes has nothing to do with race. Surely there can be no connection between the cosmos and the idea of racial blackness, can there? Contemporary black studies theorists, artists, fiction writers implicitly and explicitly posit just such a connection. Theorists use astronomy concepts like black holes and event horizons to interpret the history of race in creative ways, while artists and musicians conjure blackness through cosmological themes and images. Hear this and weep for what was once one of the world's best universities. Having lowered the bar in order to attract more African American students, they have decided at Cornell that the only way to keep them engaged is to teach them via rap singers and black history. I give links above to the things about which I have talked. This is how a civilization begins its long decline.